Welcome back to Bull Sessions here on 680 KFEQ. Here's your hosts, Randy Baker and agronomist Brad Law.
Here we are again, Bradley. We're loving it still. Talking cover crops when we went to our break.
Yes.
You've experimented a lot with cover crops, and you were saying sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Okay, and this year, not so much.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, but I do like how the cover crops keep soil in place.
Yes.
Okay, and one thing, when you read enough chemical labels and stuff, you start understanding how they work and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about how that when I sprayed, I had red clover this year, and it got ahead of me because we waited and rained and whatnot. It was more growth than I expected in the spring and gave me some fits about controlling the weeds because the herbicide didn't make soil contact.
It wasn't because you spent too much time up at the feed store talking and...
No.
Okay. Yeah.
No, it's been a while since I've been to the feed store. But when I've had, let's say, a grass cover crop like cereal rye or winter wheat, okay? Winter wheat, price of wheat's not that great. You know.
It's not.
Have it as a cover crop to hold soil in place, and that's kind of what helped me see the benefit of some cover crops was wheat in the beginning. Well, with wheat, and cereal rye is very close related to it. Well, I had cereal rye one year, and what we did, we went out late April, and I sprayed some 2,4-D and some generic Prowl. Okay. What that did was the 2,4-D is labeled on wheat, but it'll stop it from tillering. Well, on a cover crop, we're not worried about it messing up the head, or we just want it to hold soil, feed the biology, and go.
Yep.
So we sprayed 2,4-D, and what that did, 2,4-D would kill any broadleafs out there. So if we did have any mare's tail escapes, if we had any cheat, if we had, various winter annuals like dandelions, we could get those killed, and we put the Prowl with it, the generic Prowl, to put residual down, and it doesn't have any burn down activity. You can spray Prowl on grass, and it won't kill the grass, but it will keep new grass from coming up. So kind of neat like that once you get into it, well, by spraying that early, that...
Your Pepsi's backing up on you. And, okay.
The rye was shorter, where when I sprayed it, I was actually getting herbicide down to the soil. Because later, if I would have been spraying it right before planting or right after planting, all that big mat of residue would have been there, and that herbicide wouldn't have made it down to the soil.
Waste of money.
So we're managing it a little bit different, but we are going to have to do at least 3 sprayer passes, maybe, on that field, because we did the early burn down with the residual, but left the rye growing. Then we had to kill the cereal rye, and then we'll have a post spray, maybe another post spray. So you've got more sprayer passes if it's needed, and then you also had the trip to seed the cover crop and the cover crop seed. And, there's only, I think the first time you plant a cover crop, you can get some money from the NRCS office if they've got any left. But after that, you're kind of on your own.
Right.
So it just takes a little bit of different management, and that program there worked well, but, I was trying to figure out a way to get the costs down on the covers. Because when we look at anything we do, costs money. Whether it's dragging a piece of equipment across there. And our guys from the north have a little sheet they put out. Iowa State University. Missouri does one too, but I kind of like the way the Iowans put together. It's called the Iowa Farm Custom Rate Survey. So what that is, if you can Google just Iowa Custom Farm Rates 2016, and it'll pull it up. And they update this every year. They sent out a bunch of surveys. Farmers filled it out. They had 182 responses for last year. And people are asked, what does it cost to do this? Randy mentioned his brush cutter as his tillage equipment for his D17.
Yes, it is.
Let's say you had corn stalks and your combine guy didn't have a chopping head, and you decided, I don't want all those corn stalks standing up, knocking chains off the planter for him. I'm going to brush cut those corn stalks because if we can get residue in smaller pieces.
I still know people that do that.
If we can get that residue in smaller pieces, it will decompose quicker. The soil life will make it easier for them to eat it. Well, the average charge for chopping corn stalks is $11.85. Per acre. Now, if you would have those with a disc, let's see, we have.
You mean disking the corn stalks?
Disking the corn stalks
instead of my D17 and brush cutter going across.
Yeah, a tandem disc is $14.25 an acre. So for $3 more, you could have it disc versus
just cut
up. So we kind of look at those like, well, even if you're doing it yourself, it costs money, and you're like, well, do I have a 15-foot brush cutter or a 20-foot brush cutter? My disc is 18-foot and the blades aren't very good, or my disc is 32-foot and the blades are killer on it. Well, I'm gonna disc it then. So we can look there and V-ripping, that was listed over 15 inches deep, was $20.15 an acre.
Ooh, that's getting up there.
Well, but you think about this. $20 may sound like a lot, but by the time you have let's say if you hired someone to spray it, you have the application fee, you have the drift retardant, the AMS, the this, that, and the other, and they put 4 or 5, 6 things in the tank, and you're up above $20 an acre in the sprayer pass.
Yeah, I know. What you're saying.
You've got to look at the benefit of both. And one thing about that sprayer is I've got an older sprayer, but 60-foot booms at 8 to 10 mile an hour can cover a lot of ground versus a 24-foot field cultivator or a 21-foot disc at 6.8 mile an hour or 7.8 mile an hour. There's no comparison in the two.
Right.
And when we talk about I talked about the chisel. The chisel is just a little bit wider than the duals on the tractor. It takes an enormous amount of time. We started doing the chiseling because of the test plots.
Right.
The test plots are on 4 rows. And I dead man back with the combine each time to dump. And to make it fair the next year, I wanted to eliminate any possible compaction, so I chiseled the plot crossways. Hadn't had the chisel out in years, so when we first started doing the plots, I got the chisel out and went to town, and that, I need a bigger tractor to do that, do a lot of acres.
You do a lot of plots out there anymore. You're going to have that entire farm converted over into test plots at my expense. I can see this coming.
Well,
At Willcross's expense, but you've got a good gig going out there, Bradley. That's good.
We've got to, but
we do got to. We got to know.
It's neat to try things, but that chisel, when I started doing that in the plots, and then I was like, man, and then I bought a penetrometer. I'm like, there was Dad wasn't crazy. He wasn't an idiot.
No.
He was doing that for a reason. Okay. I don't have a ripper. I would love to have a bigger tractor that I could pull a big ripper and rip everything. I think that would benefit my soil.
As long as it don't go to the Gulf of Mexico.
Right. But we look at that, and it's, the Iowa custom farm rates are just, it's neat to see what people, say, what does this cost to have done? Even has to use a power washer per hour, $41.65.
Really?
Really?
I don't get that.
Just
that's why we're in Missouri. We can't live this high on the hog like they do.
Randy, I can let you borrow my auger for 6 cents a bushel. It looks
that works. Okay, that works.
But just it's neat to look at the I'm reading something. It may be a book. It may be something I found online. But it's neat. It's neat. I just in general to have this, because let's say you do some work for your neighbor and you want to be fair with him and you don't want to gouge him, but you don't want to.
Well, no, you don't want to gouge your neighbor.
So the Iowa custom farm rates can be something to go on. Like, let's say if I built fence with no materials, building fence barbed with no materials per hour, $15.60
per hour. Right. building fence.
Or if you could pay me per rod, would be $15 per rod with no materials.
Uh-huh.
Do you know what a rod is?
You know, I don't. I remember I did it one time, but I have no clue now. I've forgotten.
Okay. Would you shear sheep for $3.70 a head?
No, I personally would not.
You would not?
I would not. I don't know how to shear a sheep.
You don't know?
No.
Okay.
Just scissors, I think.
Just
Is it?
scissors.
A pair of scissors.
Okay. Well, here's a good one.
No, speaking of shears, you need a haircut. Your beard's getting long too.
I'm trying to. I'm growing out either Santa Claus or ZZ Top beard.
Your hair's black, Bradley.
You're a little early on the no shave November.
No shave
No
November.
shave November.
So then maybe when we do the intro to bull sessions, we can go how or something like that.
Boom, 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 boom.
Well, here, I got one more for you from the Iowa Custom Farm Rates. Would you dig a post hole for $3.70 a hole?
I done one the other day for nothing. My wife wants a new mailbox post and everything put in. I dug it the old-fashioned way, through gravel, I might add. No, I wouldn't want to do it again for $30.
You don't want to dig a post hole for $3.70.
Well, I would if I had to. But
Now this here looks a little bit better. I think maybe our sales guys might get into this. Driving a steel fence post.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting $2.60 a post to drive that.
No.
No.
That pays better than farming.
You know
doesn't
how
it?
many posts I have along my driveway for
Yes.
those plots?
Yes, you do have a lot, but you make Mark do it.
Hey.
Here's the deal, Brad. We'll talk more about driving fence posts when we come back to Bull Sessions on 680 KFEQ.